Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to a new episode of Candid Conversations here on Creating Within. And today we have a special guest, and her name is SHI Scott. Many of you might already know her if you do from either American Idol this season's, or if you're like me, then you might have come across some of her viral videos where she's just really being authentically herself and sharing her perspectives on life. And really, her passion, which is what I connected with, is her desire to be connected herself and in her own connectivity help others to plug into, like you would say, you use the word plug into yourself.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here and speaking with you. I love what you do.
I'm honored to have you here, honestly. You are so young. We were just saying, you told me you're 19, and I was sharing with you how I came across you through actually I don't know if it was your first video, but it was the first video that I saw, which was The Way I See Things Ending.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which was, I believe that you recorded that after American Idol.
Yeah, after I was eliminated.
Yeah. And I remember I was watching, and I was just so captivated by you, and I was like, wow. And then I found out you're 19, and I'm like, you're fucking amazing. Your perspective, the way that you see life, and I'm like, this is my kind of girl. Because in that video, what you're sharing in a nutshell is, you have this vision, and you had this opportunity to experience an aspect of your desire, to sing and to be in front of millions of people. And somewhere along the way, it kind of got cut short. But rather than seeing it as a disappointment, as a loss, as a failure, you're able to focus on the bigger picture, because you understand that we each have our own journey, and that everything that's happening to us is taking us to a certain place. So when things happen, there's a reason for it. And so I just loved your understanding of that, and the fact that you didn't have any resistance, and it was like sharing the way that you see endings, which are really new beginnings to new paths, and it actually has opened up a whole new avenue for you. So
yeah, it has. It's opened up my life completely. Just trusting the fact that I'm a part of a much bigger system, whether I can see it or not. I'm a part of a much bigger system that I work for, that I live for, that I love for, and I just trust that the universe will take care of me and will mold me to be the person that I'm supposed to be for it. Then everything that happens I can just enjoy, whether it is an ending or it is a heartbreak or anything bad or anything good, I can just enjoy it, live it and feel it and learn from it. Really, that's putting that trust in the universe. You're free. Really are.
I agree. So I want to start off with understanding your journey, how you got to American Idol, because American Idol I know that wasn't your ultimate goal. I saw one of your recent interviews where you talked about really what you've had a hard time growing up articulating and basically expressing yourself. So Idol was just a platform for you to have the courage to put yourself out there. Now, leading up to Idol, how was that? Did you make a decision one day to say, I'm going to sign up for Idol? Is this something that you had been working towards? How did that come about?
Well, I had just graduated high school. So I was kind of had this, all this open space around me. And someone said something to me along the lines that you're never really going to be ready to do anything. You just kind of have to do it. And so I didn't feel ready to do Idol, but I was like, you know what, let me just go and I'll just learn. And I remember holding the golden ticket in my hand after my celebrity judges and told people that I was crying. And I wasn't crying necessarily for good reasons. I was crying because I was terrified. I was terrified. I thought that the world wasn't ever going to see me in the way that I needed them to in order to speak what was in my head. I thought I was going to have to be silent for the rest of my life. I thought I was going to have to be a face for the rest of my life. And I couldn't handle that. So really, it was that whole concept of trusting the universe and trusting that I was here for a reason, that I was meant to be standing here, that got me through that fear. It was like fear almost became something so incredibly minimal because I was a part of something so much bigger, so I couldn't disrespect it. I just had to let it go. So really, it's not that I ever made the conscious choice to not be scared or to, let me put my voice out here. It was just something that, I had a feeling and I went for it. And I mean, that's all I can really owe my life to. It's nothing consciously that I made the decision to do. It's a succession of people and events and words that have been spoken to me and words that I've spoken to myself and things that I've experienced and the way that I've seen them that have made me something to give back to the world, something big enough to give back to the world. And I had to trust that, and I didn't have that standing with that golden ticket in my hand. I didn't have that mentality, but I think I got it through Hollywood Week. I was just so terrified and so alone and so young and so inexperienced that I couldn't do anything else but just let go. There's nothing I could have done. There's nothing to hold on to at that point. And now I'm here. Now I'm here. I'm still scared every time I set up my video camera to speak, and I'm like, I'm going to post a video and I'm going to talk about like something that people have talked about for years. I get terrified because who's going to listen to me? But that's not the question that I should be asking myself. It is basically just making the statement that I am something beautiful because I'm a part of something beautiful, and everything that comes out of my mouth is meant. Everything that comes out of my mouth is meant. Everything that I do and everything that happens to me is meant. And I can share it and have people find comfort and safety in that. And that's been something much bigger than I realized it to be. I'm now so much farther than I thought I would be just by the simple act of opening up my mouth.
Yeah, it's liberation when you can put yourself out there, because the whole experience of going into American Idol, you said a key word, like, it wasn't that you weren't scared, you were frightened, but you had this like inkling where, okay, it's like the universe is pointing me in this direction, there's a reason for it. I'm scared as shit, but I'm gonna trust because I know this is happening for a reason. And that's the whole point of being human. It's really an emotional journey. That's all there is to it. And, we want to, like, take so much action and be so deliberate in our thinking, but it's really, like, you have to go through the emotional stuff. It's, like, You're scared, but you got to go past it, and that's a beautiful message, and I love that you're so in line with that, with listening to that voice despite the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did the first video come about after American Idol?
Well, to be honest, I was filming for American Idol, and I was over in California. I live in Maryland, so it's great being over there. And my roommate got sick, so I had the entire hotel room to myself. And it felt way more lonely than I thought it would. And I was away from my family. And my mother sends me a message to basically speak for this small group of kids, and they're called SWAG. And it was students with attainable goals. And so I just made a video for them, basically saying I'm the poster child for people with attainable goals, so I'll just speak about it. And so I did that kind of like in one video, and I sent it to my mom in an email, and she's like, you have to post this. I was like, what do you mean, Mama? And she's like, you have to post this. People need to hear this. Like, this could help people. And so I was like, all right. So the next day I posted it, and I remember going through vocal coaching and going through the normal everyday activities that we would go through for Idol to prepare for the shows, and then going to check back on my Facebook and realizing that the video was just taking off. And
which video was this?
This was a message everyone needs to hear. This is my first video that like reached 1 million people, and it was insane. I would wake up every morning and read the shares and read the comments and read all these beautiful things that people were taking from the video. And I was like, this is it. I can do this. I can speak. Because I've hid behind my music for a very long time. Like, I've always written music, and I've always loved the safety and being able to create, a 3-4 minute song with a concise dialogue between the progression of the music and the lyrics and what I was putting into it in order to be able to speak the words that I really wanted to speak. It was like planning a conversation between two people. But for the first time in my life, I realized that I may be able to speak without hiding behind that. And so taking off with that, I've made many more videos, and people still take almost the same thing from them, and I'm realizing the power that I said, just having the courage to open up your mouth and speak what's on your mind, that it's important, that you're important, that the things that you think are important. And that's what I basically said in the first video, that you in your mind and who you are will never exist again. So it is your job to put yourself out there. So following my own advice, that's what I've been doing since then.
Love it. And how was it for you? I know that you felt growing up very alienated and kind of separate just because of the way that you saw the world. So how do you think that helped you? Have you always had this perspective of being, I would say, self-aware and having like this big picture kind of awareness since you were young, or did it develop at a certain point?
I think it was more so, I was born very sensitive, born very aware to people and what they were going through, from a very young age. Before I could even really think about what was going on in my head, I was extremely affected by the people around me all the time. And even from when I was a little baby, like I was just always that way. And so as I started growing older, and the first time that I went to school, like I tell my mother all the time, I remember the first day, that I went to kindergarten. Like I remember that first day very clearly, because I remember thinking, there's something not right here. Like there's something, I felt like I was in a bubble. It probably is the best way to put it. And that bubble, like it never ended up popping, and I just thought it would as I went through school. Like it just never, I was always separated somehow. And so for me, learning became that bridge between the two different worlds that I guess I made up in my head or was just there. I'm not really sure, but I figured if I could understand people, I would get to be able to look them in the eyes and not carry so much weight. And never found that. Like I never learned enough to not be able to carry that in someone's face.
When you say weight, what is the weight that you felt that you were carrying?
I feel like when you see the truth, or the truth that they give you, and you just keep asking why that's the truth, eventually every time I've asked why to anything, you end up getting to this premise that everything is one and the same, and that we're a part of this huge world and we're all connected, and that's always where my answers ended up going towards when I questioned why. It wasn't like I was born as this, spiritual person or, religious person. I was just born with, gotta question why, gotta know why. And so when you see humans, we live in a world where our beliefs are kind of spoon-fed to us. And the way that we're supposed to perceive our world is spoon-fed to us. And we never really question, we never really think, why are we thinking this? And why are we feeling this? And so because of the separation from all this connectivity into a world of separation that kind of thrives on separation with money and, all these concepts that we just made up, that humans can get themselves stuck in a mental rut, with perceiving the world this way. So I always saw that in people's faces when they were getting tied up on things that necessarily weren't important, but were made to be important, were made to be significant. And so I couldn't handle that. I don't know what the correct word for it was. It was almost as if like I knew all the answers, but I couldn't find a way to say them. Yeah, it was just, there were simple truths and there was universal truth, and I could look at you through that, but you couldn't see yourself through that. And that was my entire life. It was just, this is the way I see you, and I know this is the way that you see yourself. And fighting that. It was like you're so close to freedom. It was just, it's all up here, It's all up here. And it's very hard to change someone's mind. You can't do it. They have to do it for themselves. And as a child, it's even harder because you don't have the, you don't have the position or the authority to make statements about belief and have people just accept them. And so it was tough going through school. It was tough trying to connect to people. And so I really did isolate myself, and I did really go very far into my learning, and I just chose to perceive my world from a distance until I could figure out a way to penetrate it in a way that was going to actually be worth it. And I'm starting to figure it out now. And so hopefully 10 years from now, I'll really have a grip on it. But really, I always say this, and I've said this in a lot of interviews, like, it's not that I'm doing it to be altruistic. It's not like I'm doing it to, because I want to help you. It's not that kind of nature. I really do it for peace of mind in myself. So this is all I think about. It's all I've ever thought about. It's my motivations for everything. I need you to be okay for me to be okay. So at the end of the day, it still is, I guess, about me. But like, I need you to be okay. I need you to think in a way that's truthful for you, so that you can live in truth, so that you can be happy. You know, people are chasing that, and they're chasing in the wrong direction. So that's what I feel about the world.
And where do you think that desire you said it's not something because you're like, okay, I want to help you, but in a way, you do have this desire to get other people, what I would say, in alignment, in their own truth, connecting to a bigger picture outside themselves in this human reality. I mean, there's more to life than going to work and going to school and getting married. Like these are just like the little props, but there's something bigger going on here. And it's like getting them to that space. But do you feel that other people not being in that space affect you?
I think I can attribute that to the amount of awareness that I had when I was a toddler. Like, back to when I couldn't explain what was going on. It goes beyond being uncomfortable. I can feel what you're feeling if I allow myself to. And now it's at a point where if I allow myself to, I can make that statement. But when I was a kid, that statement didn't exist. It was just, I'm feeling what you're feeling, and I don't have a choice. Yes. And so for me, everything that I've done over the course of my life, even though I've not lived long, has been to kind of cater to that little child within me that just cannot quiet that feeling that I get when people aren't living their truth, when they're suffering from that. And so I think it's more, when I have them in my space, I can't ignore it. So, and because I can't ignore it, it's either a choice that you kind of make, and it's a choice that humans make in general. You either complain about it or you do something about it. And so I always say to people that I made the conscious decision when I was a child to be something other than what I had known, and it's the truth. I had to quite literally say to myself, you can't be this kid. You can't be this kid who's just miserable. This isn't you. So I have to change my world in order to make myself feel better. And I'm not sure if it would be labeled as a weakness within me, but at the same time, maybe it is, because I kind of believe that some of our weakest spots are really some of our greatest weapons, just in disguise. We just don't feel them that way. Everything that has been weak about me has been the very things that have attracted millions of people now, that has gotten me onto the shows that I've been on, that has gotten me in life. All my weaknesses, it hasn't been my strong points. It's been those points where I was forced to be vulnerable, the humility that people connect to. I think people need humility.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's really what's missing, and that's actually what we're talking a little bit off camera, is that authenticity, that transparency, because it's so easy. And I mean, like I tell you, like even with me sometimes, like I have to take a step back and make sure that I'm being authentic, because it's so easy to want to be projecting something else, or you fall into the human experience, the game of the peanut gallery and what everybody wants you to be and how you should be, and then your own insecurities come in. So it's a lot to manage.
Right.
But I could see from an early child you were very empathic. Like you were an empath. You can feel the world, and you have this higher sensitivity. And would it be fair to say that growing up for you, you did use a word like you were very like unhappy at some point growing up?
Yeah. And I hate saying that, but I've definitely made that statement before. I hate saying it because my family, they're beautiful. Like, I had the greatest childhood within my household. Like, my family has always been supportive. They're my best friends. But I would say as soon as I walked out the door, like...
What was the contrast?
Unhappy. I was always hungry. I was always unsatisfied. I was never doing enough. I was never doing enough for the people around me. I was never being impactful. I was never speaking the way that I wanted to. I was never communicating myself well. It was just never enough. Never enough for the people around me. I was never enough. I was never big enough. And I feel like that's a human fear, though. Not to be big enough, to not be heard, to not be seen, to not be felt. But that was just what I was going through as a child. I just think it was magnified because I was also taking that on for other people.
Absolutely. but all of that has molded you and contributed to get you to this very moment. And that's the beauty of it, because sometimes when you're going through the stuff and you're actually in the emotional aspect of dealing with things, if it may seem never ending and you just want to get there, there's this place or this vision of this higher self person that you know yourself to be, and you're always trying to get there. And it's in realizing more and more, I've come to realize in my own life, is that we're getting there. We're always on path, even when you're off track, and everything is contributing to your growth and to your learning. Because ultimately, where do we have to go? There's nowhere to go.
Right. When you reach that final goal that you wanted, there's still going to be way more steps after that. You're never there. You're always going there.
Exactly. And we forget that it's not about the tangible things. Those are all the extra, the bonuses. But really, it's an emotional journey. It's about what you're learning and expanding and growing and being able to connect and be vulnerable and, I don't know, keeping your heart open when your heart wants to close, like things like that. That's the real work.
God. So right. Being vulnerable, that's a huge strength. That is a huge strength that I don't feel like a lot of people recognize. That vulnerability is one of the strongest places that you can be mentally, to just be completely open. It's really hard.
It is. It's scary. Sometimes I'm completely there and other times I'm not, but it's what allows two humans to really connect on deep levels, because it's like you're putting all your defenses down and you're like, all right, this is just me. It's just about connecting. I want to see you. I want you to see me. There's nothing else in this moment. And there's so much power in that.
There really is. It's. I say this all the time, but I mean, there's something so infinite about when you're completely just open stream connecting to another individual or to a group of individuals. There's connection, I feel like, is our main goal in life. Is just to connect.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember that you said that, and I was like, absolutely. There's nothing else. I mean, what is there? Life is a series of memories, and what makes it, I just went traveling for like a year and a half, and when I look at my travels, it was beautiful, the places I went to, but what really stands out in my mind is the connections I made, is the moments I shared with people. Because after a while, every place looks the same. It's just another beautiful landscape, another beautiful building, but what stays with you is the synchronicities of how you meet someone and the interactions and that moment that you share of pure transparency and connection for that moment. That's it.
It's beautiful. That's what you go for. Like, I feel like if anything, that's the goal. That's it. Just there's this. I don't know who said it, but it was just a very simple quote, and they said, "Your only job is to connect. That is the only thing." And I just feel like connect to, whether that's through human relationships or through groups or from a distance or very close, or to even a religious concept or a scientific concept. Any way that you connect and make your existence bigger than what it is, I feel like that's the goal. Like, that's living. That's truth. Because humans are a part of something bigger than what they are. I think so. Anytime they get even relatively close to it, there's something infinitely stunning about it. There's something otherworldly.
You're so adorable. I love you, man. I am in love with your energy. It's so pure, and it really is. It's just so infectious.
I love hearing that. A lot of my life I've been silent, so to hear this from people, it feels golden.
Yeah, you're doing, and see, the thing is that you're doing such a service to people, because all that you're doing is being authentically yourself. And we're moving into a time where people are craving, people are hungry for something more, for something deeper and richer. And I feel like that's why more and more we see more talk about spiritual concepts that maybe 10 years ago didn't exist. We're seeing more and more people talking about things, putting themselves out there, movies, books. So people are craving that, and you simply being yourself. And I think this is something that we all have to remember, and I have to remind myself sometimes, because I don't feel like you. Sometimes I'm doing enough, I'm being enough, or I'm not speaking properly, or this or that. And it's just learn how to be yourself, and be yourself to the fullest you can be, to the best of your ability at every moment, because ultimately that's all we're trying to do. We're all trying to see how we can be more of ourselves
Right.
Because what do we want ultimately? Like, love, to be seen, to be understood. So when you can do that, you're a mirror for other people who are looking at you, and they're resonating with that aspect of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I saw you and I was like, oh, that passion, I connect with that. Like, that's real. And really, and that's the biggest service that you do for another, because you're a catalyst for other people's own self-awareness and desire to want to grow, and that passion within themselves to do whatever it is that they're meant to do.
Exactly. Exactly. I get hundreds of messages a day of people telling me that because I actually took the time to open up my mouth and I wasn't too scared to do it, that people have realized that they're not alone, that there's other people like them, there's other people that think like them, that they can go out and be vocal about the things that are in their head because I'm doing it. And I just, I feel like it's such a beautiful thing, because I waited such a long time to open up my mouth. You know, if one of my videos can do that for someone, just be that moment where they realize that I'm important and what is going on in my head is important, and I should share it, and I should connect with the people who think like me, and that, God, I'm doing what I want to do in my life. Like that's it. Like, God, that is it. That's all I want to do, is I want people to realize that they're not alone, because I spent so much of my time here in my bedroom, you know, studying to myself, singing to myself, writing to myself, you know, going through the world's problems to myself, because anytime I brought them to the world, people would say, oh, you're too sensitive, you know, you need to focus on this, you need to just talk a little less, you need to basically stop crying so much, you know, like, yeah, I'm trying, you know, I'm really trying, that's why I'm talking about it, I need help, but to feel, you know, to feel and to cry. I cry at everything. God, I cry at everything because I'm living, because I feel the beauty in everything. I walk outside, I take time to myself, but I can also connect with people, and I look them in the face and I show them that I see them. That's so much of a gift. That's so much of a gift. And we think we have all these material things. All these material things that I think get in the way. We have our cell phones that we're constantly in, and we're just missing the grander point. Why we like social media in the first place is because of this massive connectivity, but in it we disconnect ourselves. And I think that's why we're so sad. I think that's why we have so many of the world problems that we do, is because we don't take a time to breathe and to realize that I'm here now, and that what I can do as a human being who can speak and who can think rationally is absolutely infinite. What I can do and the possibilities that I have are absolutely infinite. There's nothing that can stop me once I'm not too scared to be exactly who I am. And that's why I love everything that you're saying, because you're talking about being yourself. Being yourself is such a cliched, you know, concept, but it is the key to everything. It's the key to everything. Just being yourself and living your truth. The world will bend over backwards to cater to you. It will bend over backwards to cater to who you are, as long as you're being exactly what it designed you to be in the first place.
Yeah.
It's our job. It's our job.
Absolutely. And I think that's why success will follow. I don't think that, I think this too many times we try to chase success rather than realizing that success is a byproduct of just the more that you can be yourself and the more you can follow your path. It'll naturally happen when it's supposed to, rather than trying to force it. Because I interviewed, I don't know, have you seen his videos, Prince EA?
I've heard of the name.
He's just another like conscious person out there trying to spread his own perspective and growth with the world. And he's had massive success with it. But I remember in one of his lyrics, he's talked about, at one point he feared success more than failure. And I briefly talked to him about it, and it hasn't been till recently that it's kind of hit me, when I've been kind of self-reflecting on my own life and just redefining, you know, who I am and why I'm here and my purpose for everything that I want to do. And realizing that success, him saying that he was afraid of success more than failure, comes from the fact that sometimes if success comes too soon and you're not ready for it, it can actually be worse for you. It can derail you completely off path if you're a person who wants to be on purpose. You want to be authentic and obviously you've had this success now, but it's because, like you said, you've waited so long, but you've been paving the way, you've been doing the work, you've been, in the space and being okay with it. And it seems to me, and energetically, I can feel that your whole focus has been just to find more and more that connection within yourself. And as you found it within yourself, then you're able to see that you're not really separate from anybody. You're really connected to all of it.
Right.
And then the moment came, you're in resonance, you're following your excitement, and bam, the manifestation of what you want has happened without you even trying. God. And that's just fucking like a beautiful
It's amazing. It's amazing. Oh God, I'm not quick to say that it's not that it's effortless, but it almost feels like in that same kind of nature that it's just everything. God, everything opens up almost at once when you just make that decision that I'm just going to be who I am and that's it.
Yeah.
God, it is beautiful. I think there came a point where I was like boycotting classes almost, like I wouldn't do the work. I always loved school, right? And I ended up being in a magnet program and I was in the gifted and talented program, like, because I couldn't memorize anything. I'm terrible at memorizing, like I can't remember names or faces or dates. Or how to spell words. Terrible with spelling. But comprehension is something that I always got, from a very young age. And so I would just kind of run with that. And it was more of a desperation than it was anything else. But I would run with that so that I could end up on the other side, to be able to look at it and look back at my life and say, oh, that's what it was. And look back at this person and think, oh, that's what it was. And I just... God, I just think at some point I realized that I wasn't ever going to be able to follow anyone else's lead when I wanted to do something. And I wasn't going to be able to just trust authority because it was authority. I couldn't trust words that were coming out of adults' mouth at the time when I was a child just because they were an adult. I I can just watch celebrity figures and say I could be them one day because they weren't what I wanted to be. And it just became a point where, like, I realized that following your dreams wasn't really following anything. It was just kind of you just almost feeling completely naked to the world, just completely vulnerable, and to forge your own way. That's what really following your dreams feels like. It's not like anyone says, hey, here's where you go, and this is your path to success, and this is the formula that's going to work for you. It is all to yourself. You all have to have it to yourself. So I thought my path to success was going to be, I will learn, I will study, I will understand humanity, then I will give it back to them and say, hey, this is what I've been seeing for all this time, and that would kind of be it, And then I'd write music, and I'd write about the same things in my songs, and I would sing, and everyone would be happy, and that wasn't how it went, Like, I went on The Voice, I went and pretty much failed that because I was too overwhelmed. And then I went to American Idol and I made it halfway through, and then I put myself out there and I ended up dropping out of the magnet program that I was in and leaving that and deciding not to go to college. And there's all these things were lining up that didn't look pretty, to people on the outside, Started asking me what my backup plan was going to be and what I was going to do if this didn't work out. And I'm thinking, this can't be it. Like, this is not truth for me. I can't just go to college for the sake of going to college, for the sake of getting a degree, for the sake of getting a job, for the sake of getting a promotion, for the sake of retiring early. Like, that can't be my life. So I decided not to go to college, and that's when I went to the Idol, and that's where I'm at now, being able to just speak. And nothing I'm doing is conventional. Nothing I'm doing is anywhere where I've read what success is supposed to be. I'm trying to follow spiritual leaders, but even in that, it's difficult to just say, you know what, I have to be enough because this is what I want to do with my life and it feels right to me. And I feel like our bodies know much more than our minds do. And so I choose to listen to that more frequently than I do my mind, and I haven't always done that. Thought you could think your way through anything. But I feel like that's one of the hugest facets of the human nature that easily becomes super destructive, is the human nature's ability to get so far away from what is nature. We can destroy ourselves that way. So really it was quietening my mind and listening to my body and trusting myself that I knew what I was supposed to say and that I was going to speak what I had to in order to connect to these people, in order for them to hear me. And that's what happened. It's all just trust. So I'll just trust at the end of the day.
So beautiful. No, it's everything that you've said. You're right on. The mind, for anybody listening, it's like our minds can get the best of us. I mean, you can get so far in there that you literally get disconnected, like you said. So for those who may be trying to understand a little bit more, when you say feel with your body, you're feeling your way through? How is that process more of when you quiet your mind and kind of just listen to more of what your body's telling you? Are you following your emotions? Is that what you mean by it?
So I feel like every different thing that makes us human is something that we should listen to, something that we should pay mind to. I just think we lead with our minds when we shouldn't sometimes. I feel like the mind has merit in, researching, preparing you to be able to enter a situation and be full. But our emotions, they give this dynamic beauty to rationality. And somewhere in between rationality and emotion is life, is truth. And you can't go without one another, to think and to really feel what you're... Like, I would say that empathy is one of the highest forms of intelligence, just because it requires emotion and intelligence to be able to see someone and look at them and not only hear them and see them and feel them, but to have it so much into your being that you can feel it yourself, that you're experiencing what they're experiencing. In that moment, connection is infinite. In that moment, it's just it's such a high form of intelligence, and we just throw it away, I feel like, because we don't like to feel, because we've had this terrible connotation with emotions that they're to be thrown away and to be, sedated, just to be pushed down until we're cold, until we're machines. And that's not what humans are. We need to pay attention to our body and to our emotions and to our mind. And then there's something in us that is apart from our emotions and apart from our mental space that is something that was there before we were even really born. And that isn't everyone and every living thing, whether they have, a neocortex with rationality. It's just it's I don't even know what the word is for it. It's like an all. It's in everything. It's the universe. It's in a very small voice for us right now. And I always say that it's intuition, that little voice in the back of your head that tells you, where to go, information that you could never even possibly know, things that we could have never, like, even the fact that there's universals, even the fact that there's concepts in the world that we just know instantly from the moment that we're born tells us that we're part of something much bigger, that we're not just blank slates that we just throw stuff on. Humans, we need to learn how to connect everything and to listen to everything and to live life in a full circle like the universe interprets the world, and to not just throw away the bad because it's bad and just throw away feeling because we have to feel it, but just to live and to feel and to think and to let everything come in. And that's when you can make an educated statement. I think you have a lot of people walking around here believing that they're making educated statements because they're regurgitating other things that other people have said. And then you have smarter people that can regurgitate other things that people have said, but they can connect a whole bunch of things that people have said to make a new thing to say. But still, it's regurgitation. I feel like truth revolves in all facets of life. To even remotely come close to speaking truth and living beautifully and being happy, you have to take everything that you are. You can't leave anything out. So I don't know where along the line where we decided that emotions weren't a good thing and that feeling wasn't a good thing.
Yeah, and we're highly emotionally intelligent creatures. I mean,
right.
What makes us human is the fact that we have this emotional, aspect of ourselves that is everything in it. That's where the power is. That's where the connectivity. That's where the synchronicities. That's where you can really make life work for you. Like when I get into my little contemplation state, this is the space I love to be in. I like my focus to be in this energy because this is really how life is. It's easy to get distracted by the other stuff. But we're a universe. There is the whole machine here. And if we could just put as much emphasis as we put in the way that we look or in our careers to understanding our emotional and that our vibration, our frequency, that our emotional state matters because it determines the kind of experiences that we're going to have and the kind of people that we attract, and everything is a connection onto itself. And there's nothing else that matters most than being in tune with that. And I love that, it's such a beautiful example, especially for the generations that are coming in, which I feel anyways that our newer generations are more and more awakened, are coming in already more with that awareness, because we are in a shift. But you're 19 and you have this awareness and this desire, and it's so powerful and so beautiful, and I love it. I really see you, and it's really amazing because I connect with you. I see so much of me, and I see that 19-year-old, and I still feel like energy of just that excitement.
Yeah, I know exactly
what
I mean? Yep.
Because I think we can get jaded.
Yeah, easily.
And when people want us to focus on the shit that they want us to focus on. Like they were saying, oh, you're going on the wrong path. You're going to have a backup plan if things don't work out in idle. If you're going to get a job. It's like all these things that are okay, there's some, if I focus on that, but that's not where you're trying to go.
Right. It's not what I ever decided to do. I don't know why you're asking me about a backup plan. I'm not doing it. I think once you decide that, to even have a backup plan, it's safe. It's safe. But life was not meant to live safe. At the end of the day, we're all going to die. At the end of the day, it's all going to end. We know how it's going to end. It's a matter of fulfilling your life based on who you are in the biggest way possible, in the truest way possible for you. I don't think that I don't think it's a game for us to play based on, how much we can get out of it. I think it's a game we play on how big we can be based on who we are and the succession of thoughts in our mind and everything that we've been gifted to see. It's all ours to give to the world, to give back. And there's nothing more beautiful than that feeling of putting something out into the world that is completely 100% you and having people love you for that. That's a very, very amazing feeling, which I wish everyone at some point in their life could experience that feeling, to put something out into the world that is completely you, or to say something that is completely you, and to be loved for it. That's a beautiful thing. We're talking about goals, that's another goal right there, like, to be loved for you.
Well, you're doing it. Because you're resonating, you're attracting the people who are appreciating those aspects of who you are. And how do you deal with when those self-doubts come up personally for you in the putting yourself out there with others?
It comes often, very often. It's difficult because the doubt is such it's not just a concrete thing that comes in and comes and goes. It grows within you. It's just like this little seed, and then it can just take over you. And then you can question yourself in a million ways, and you can doubt yourself in a million ways. And it does come often for me. I'm lucky to have a support system of people who, say, stop. I know who you are, and I know what you're going to do. But like for the people who don't have that, I think it's something that you need to look for in yourself. It's not even a matter of what you're doing and the way that you do it. It is, you were given things to create a very specific imprint on the world, and it is your job to do that without judgment from yourself or from others. It's just your job. Like, there's nothing, you have to separate yourself from all these doubts that are conceived here and out here, from materialistic things, from third dimension kind of things, from things that don't matter, Like, people will say something all the time. They'll always have an opinion. They can always find something negative to say. It's not your job to focus in on that. It's your job to be who you are and to connect with the people that you were meant to, for those people that you were meant to. I've connected with so many people who sit alone in their rooms every day, that are just alone every day, and they find themselves in me. Because I'm not scared to put myself out there. But it doesn't mean that I haven't had my doubts. It doesn't mean that I don't stop for a second, and say, I'm 19 years old. I don't know anything. I can't be speaking to these people. I'm in no position to do this. I don't know anything about the world of the connected, but I'm learning in front of everyone. I'm not afraid to show my mistakes out loud. I'm not afraid to live and learn and grow out loud, because that's human. That's human, and humans need to see other humans grow. I feel like that's one of the most.
Yeah, you nailed
I wish celebrities did that. Like I wish they grew more in front of us.
Yeah.
You know?
That's actually that you nailed it, because that's the whole reason when we first started talking. That's the power that we have. I think if we can be more authentic in even our flaws and admitting that we don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first did my first Candid conversation, the first person that I interviewed off of YouTube was Teal Swan. Somebody had put me on to her, and as soon as I saw her, I really resonated with who she was, and my intention for the interview was, she is now the spiritual leader that people are looking up to, but behind all her knowingness, I saw me in her. I saw the flawness of a human who's just trying to figure it out, who still has struggles just like anybody else, who just happens to be really good at articulating and has a really great grasp on the connectivity and how everything works, but she's still in the human experience.
Right.
And when I saw that, I realized like that's what it's about, because sometimes we look at people and we idolize them and we admire them. And I guess this has been my fear too, of not trying to lose myself in the opinions of others, whether it's good or bad, because sometimes we can become too afraid, which is with celebrities, it's an image, because we don't want to show, and especially in certain spiritual leaders, once they reach a certain degree of exposure, and people start putting you into boxes. The minute that they connect with you, sometimes I think as humans it's natural for us to be like, okay, this is what this person is, and you want to lock him into that, but you realize that no matter how much a person might know or how good they might be at something, we're still all struggling behind the scenes. Like, you're integrating, you're learning, and through that process, you're not always going to be so perfect and shiny. You're going to mess up. And having the courage to show that to the world, that's the real power.
Yes, crazy power. Because you're living the human experience in front of everyone, and that's something people just will gravitate towards that. They'll gravitate towards humanity, the level of just, like I said, vulnerability. You know, you can, and you know, that's what I used to say that I loved so much about music, was that you spent all this time preparing, you know, and practicing and shaping up your voice and your sound and your music and what you're saying, all to go out on a stage and just leave everything behind. Just to completely, in that moment, have to think of every passing moment, just to be alive and raw in front of people and have them just watch you. And it's such a power. I think it's part of the reason why, you know, concerts still are such a beautiful thing that people love to go to, because in concerts you get to see that vulnerability. You get to see all that work just vanish. And to see, I'm living for you in this moment because of what I've done before this, but what I've done before this has led me to be able to stand in front of you here today, to have the courage to stand in front of you here today. You don't know what I've done, you won't know what I've done, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you, and you're going to be able to plug into it. I think music is so beautiful because of that. And if people would just learn that it's okay to learn, I think that would be a major step for humanity. It's okay to be wrong. You know, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to get bigger and better. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to take a couple steps back. You know, it's all a part of the human experience. Just live it out loud anyway. People are going to connect with you anyway.
I love that. Live it out loud.
God, this has been really great.
This is awesome. So tell me where you're at right now. You have like so many things going on. So you went on Idol, and now your videos went viral, and you have, you know, all these people connecting with you, and you have an opportunity to do what you love, which is voice yourself and share yourself with others. So how does it feel? Where are you right now within yourself?
It's almost like I've taken on a new responsibility. You know, it's almost like I've gotten a lot taller. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it's almost like I've gotten a lot taller, and I have to buy all new clothes and like walk again. Like it's it's difficult. It's like a huge adjustment. It doesn't necessarily feel how I think you would think that would feel. Like, wow, look what I've done. It's more like, okay, I'm finally on the right path. I'm finally doing this. Like, it's a lot of trial and error and seeing what works and what doesn't. Seeing what people connect to and what they don't, and it's a learning process. I feel like I'm starting out making my own business almost. I'm starting off making my own brand almost, and it's just difficult to not lose the thing that started me with it, which is that human element, that ultimate message that I'm trying to say. Just as long as I don't get far away from that, the sky's the limit, I'll be putting out original music soon. I can't wait to do that. I'm finally done with my contract with Idol, and I hope to get out and meet these people that have been watching my videos. I want to do concerts. I just want to meet these people. I want it to be real for me, because right now I have a huge following on the social media thing, but ultimately I'm behind the computer screen, so it still is. It doesn't feel right, almost. It feels almost like I'm half doing it. Like, I can't reach out to these people and actually hug them or speak to them and look at them in the eyes, but they're looking at me in the eyes. And so it feels kind of one-ended, but I think the rest of my life will be kind of trying to figure out how to balance that and give back what these people have given to me.
Yeah. And you said something which kind of goes back to what we were talking about, being ready for success.
Right.
Because that's something that have asked also a lot, like in my journey of doing whatever it is I'm gonna do. It's like to be humble and to remain who you are, and that's your power. And the fact that you can recognize that and you can say, there's all these things that I want to do, but my biggest priority, which is it's called just being on purpose. You're living on purpose, and I want people to see that from you. Even people who haven't seen your videos or haven't seen you on Idol. This is you living a life on purpose, and this is what living a life on purpose looks like. It allows you to really experience the fullness of who you are, and to bring to life all the cool things that we get to experience in this human experience, which is the manifestation of going on a show like American Idol, of manifesting the desire to want it to speak to millions and hundreds of people. And so you are doing all of that, but you're doing it by being on purpose, and you're not trying so hard. And ultimately, I think that that's what all of us want to do. We have all these goals and dreams, but because of our society and the way that things are built, we're going about it the wrong way. We're trying, and it's hard not to get caught up, because sometimes, I'm on my phone and I'm looking through social media, and you just see so much of this stuff, and you see people in their pictures and living this life that a lot of it is a projection. And it's really easy to feel shitty about yourself at times, or to start comparing, or to start thinking you need to have some kind of gimmick or something in whatever you're trying to do. And this is why I love these interviews, because it's bringing people who are authentic and who are living their truth just on purpose. And by that, you're able to bring everything to life. So, thank you.
And I think that goes back to the original thing that we were saying, that living the growth out loud, because I feel like we have a lot of going through social media, you see a lot of these people with pretty pictures and they're doing well and they're being successful, but you don't get to see the journey that they take to that. So you're comparing yourself to someone's finished product, and that it can be hurtful. You can even compare yourself to your own finished product, and that can be hurtful. So that's a huge perception. That's a huge perception issue, actually. Putting yourself out there is hard because everyone is already doing it, but in Prime Touched, we have to live out. I feel like I feel like you're teaching me things that I needed to hear again. And me talking out loud, it's like I get to teach myself things that I needed to hear again.
And you're teaching me, because you are my mirror, because I'm hearing you speak. I'm like, you are perfect the way you are, and you're reminding me of a message that I need to hear, which is that I'm perfect the way I am, because I've been having my own inner struggles. And right now you're speaking, and I do that a lot. Sometimes I'll speak, and I'm like, I'm not really speaking for the other person. I'm speaking because I'm trying to understand everything that I'm processing out loud in a weird way.
I was like...
And
Oh my God. You know how many things I've learned to understand, conversations I was having with someone else that I was really just having with myself? And like, I think I'll stop in between. I'll be like, hey, listen, you know I'm really not talking to you, right? And they'll be like, yeah, I know, just keep going. I'm like, all right, cool.
Oh my God, I love it. I'm
That's
watching
funny.
you and I'm like, oh wow, this is a manifestation of me because I've been struggling with who I am and who I think I should be and listening to people's opinions. And sometimes I have people were like, I have a friend of mine who I talk to him and sometimes he's on like a whole nother level, but I talk like this and he's like, Stephanie, you know that I get this. And I'm like, it's not for you, it's for me.
I know. I'll say the same thing over and over again. Like I have my boyfriend, he'll just let me pretty much talk to him or talk at him a lot, and I'll just say the same thing over and over again, and I'll just keep redefining it. Like over and over again, he'll just let me sit there, and when you find someone like that, that's a beautiful thing. Someone will just listen to you even though you're just saying your mind out loud. That's a great thing. I feel like there's so much things to learn from speaking out loud. Like, I feel like people should talk to themselves almost.
Yes.
You can learn a lot that way about yourself and about the world and about people and about situations and about problems that you're going through.
I love that. No, it's true. It's crazy that you pointed that out because growing up, I used to talk to myself all the time. My guys and my angels, like, nobody's talking back, but I'll be in the room having a full-blown conversation with myself. But I actually learned a lot about myself through that process.
Right. Because when do you really have the chance to, like, just outright articulate yourself or your situation without, kind of catering to someone else's humanities and comments and advice? And it's just, a lot of the time when people listen, their listening will get in the way of you actually saying what you need to say. So I think it's healing to talk to yourself. I think I'll do it for the rest of my life, learn something new every day.
I love it. No, it's just such a cool interaction because you're saying this and it's like there's a co-creation happening.
Yeah. God. So cool. This has been so great.
I love it. What about confidence? I know a lot of people have trouble in that department. How do you deal with that, or what are your thoughts just around that topic of self-confidence and self-love, really? Like loving yourself more.
So I think it's really hard to love yourself when you're trying to perceive yourself through other people's, eyes. And that's where, like, confidence will diminish. But if you see yourself through a global way, through a universal way, and you look at, the bare minimum of truth that you were created for this, and you look like this for a reason, and you talk like this for a reason, and your background went this way that it did for a reason, your parents for a reason. If you look at all these kind of things and you denote them to having reasons, there's no question of confidence. It's not even a thing to consider. It's just, this is what I am, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it because this is what I was gifted, And you start looking at everything that you are, even the things that hurt or feel bad or that you're shy about or that you're scared about as gifts, then confidence is not an issue. Then you can just be yourself. And of course, you're still going to get nervous. I don't think that should ever go away. I think nerves mean that you care. And if you care, you're living, you're connected. But confidence is a different thing. Self-love is a different thing. I think it's a matter of looking at things in not even necessarily the right way, but the truthful way. Just that everything that you are is meant. Everything that you are is meant, down to the way that you eat, like the littlest of things are meant. And keeping that in mind, you can do just about anything.
Yeah, that's true. And all of this, in this whole conversation, the whole connection really comes down to, I think the whole message of this is really being able to be ourselves and realizing that there's nothing going on and everything that's happening, even what doesn't seem like is good, it's shifting our perspective, really, because it's all focus. Right. Wherever our focus goes is going to determine how we feel. And that's why it goes back to what we said about emotions, why we need to care. And our society is built the exact opposite of that. So we have to work extra hard because it's kind of drilled out of us when we're
right.
children. It's like, ignore the way you feel. Boys are taught not to cry, not to show their emotions, and emotions is weakness and all this stuff. When in actuality, it's the opposite. It's strength.
Right.
Because it's easy to distract. I went through a period recently where I'm just spiritually, I'm shifting energy. So I've had to, like, dig in and look at shit I don't want to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through like 3 days where I disconnected myself from everybody. I didn't talk to anybody, and I tried to be very deliberate and mindful of not being on the phone all the time and noticing like the little anxieties, like whether it's I drink coffee sometimes out of anxiousness or boredom, how I look at the phone maybe 20 times out of, and and we do that all the time.
Right.
Or wanting to text someone just for the pure, because you're bored or there's something inside of you you're trying to fill, and you're using someone else. And I took those 3 days to kind of just pause, and I was able to see all of these things so clearly. But in it, you're going through the emotional stuff, and it's easy to distract. Like sometimes you're going through it, it's easy for me to want to turn on the TV and kind of ignore what's going on here.
Right.
So it all comes back to, I kind of went on a rant there, but
it was beautiful. You made a point that when people, they reach out, like I feel like our phones are such I said that they're a place of connectivity, and what we're like yearning for, if we really question what that actually is, we get a different answer, It's easy to say, oh, well, yeah, I'm bored, or I just was feeling lonely today, or I wanted to connect with someone, or I just wanted to feel good, or laugh, or talk, but think about what that feeling really is. If you really question why you were feeling that, why did you feel the need to do this, then you get a much bigger answer. You get a much bigger and more truthful answer, and I think that's a beautiful thing that you just said. It really is.
Yeah, because now that you say that, it connects. It's basically when you do take action, when you're aware of how you're feeling, and then you identify why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, then whatever action you're going to take is going to be impacted even that much more. Because if you do reach out to somebody, now your intention is clear. Are you looking to connect, or are you looking to fill a void?
Right.
And so it allows you to determine what kind of action you want to take, because then the action you take is based on the energy you're bringing behind, which is going to determine what you're going to attract.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this beautiful mechanism that is there for us. That's always working. It's just we need to realize how to
tap into it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what you're doing and what you're wanting to share. And it's the same thing why I'm here and why we're connecting. We're all part of this collective energy, and we just want to get more plugged in and have more people plug into it. But
that's the goal. That's what I'm living. That's what I'm trying to do. And that's what you're trying to do. So it's a pleasure speaking to you and hearing these thoughts come out, because, I'm still the same child. Like, I still do really isolate myself, and I still do have to really recharge after I spend time out, and I still do research, and I still try to learn about the world, and I still fill my mind, and I still talk to myself. I still learn myself. But at the end of the day, I think it's such a beautiful thing to be aware and to be sensitive, and all these things that I was told were wrong when I was growing up. It's a beautiful thing to feel. It's a godly thing to feel. It's a godly thing to be aware. And I think, humans, I don't think will ever be gods, but I do think we're a piece of it, we're important. We're a piece of this grand system that can really, really serve us, and we can serve it if we just stop for a second and breathe and realize where we are and what we are and who created us and why.
Yeah.
And we just ask ourselves why.
And like you said, you're still in that place where you're still you're still learning, and that should never change. I think for all of us, it shouldn't. I think the moment and we can block ourselves when we think that we know, because when we reach a level of knowingness and you think that you know it all, you prevent yourself from growing. And it's like one of the things you said in that video, the way I see things ending, one of the first things you're like, I'm 19 and I know that I don't know anything. That's brilliant, because when you realize that you don't know anything, then you can know everything, because you're always in a constant state of like flow and learning and sharing information, and that's really where it's at. And once you think you cut the connection.
You really do. I feel like once you're, so the satisfaction is some sort of depth death almost. Like when you learn and you keep learning, you'll eventually realize the more that you really don't know. Like, that's all that I'm finding out. The more that I push myself and push my mind, the more I realize that there's this huge world out there that I don't understand any ounce of it. And that's what I was basically saying on that video, is that humans, we actually can't see most of what's going on in the world, and that's proved by science. You know, we can't hear most of what's going on in the world. So the way that we perceive our world isn't necessarily going to be truthful to what is actually going on around us. Really, all our life comes down to is perception. It's just seeing things, you know, and understanding that we're babies, and that even if we're 100 years old, we're babies, and we're a baby type of creature, and we are still learning and developing and getting things right. We're still getting the human race right, and we're a mess, but at the same time, we're so much farther than where we've come from, and we'll go so much more farther if we just keep, like you said, keep reminding ourselves that we have a lot to learn.
And in saying that, what do you think, or how do you see, rather, you know, there's a lot of things going on in the world, as there always is, and there's a bunch of contrast, a bunch of good stuff that exists, and a bunch of things that are not so great. What's the bigger picture in your understanding that you think contrast of that degree is showing us as humanity, as collectively? Issues of racism and all the crazy things that are going on, and all the injustices that we see in the world, which do exist.
Well, I think almost is preparing us for like the next evolutionary step in humanity. I feel as if, you know, a long time ago we couldn't even really rationalize what we were doing and what we were thinking. We developed that part of our human brain where we could perceive our world, and look what we've done with it. We've done so much, you know, we've created so much, but at the same time it has been the same reason for our fall, you know. And so I think almost just in the mere fact that there's 99% of the universe that is seen doing things that we can't hear or see, I think it's almost as we're earning our spot to see more of it and to feel more of it. But we have to go through this cycle of life within this dimension of thinking, with this new evolutionary development. We have to go through the ups and downs of what that new development meant for us, what it meant for us to have rationality. So I think all the problems that we're having in this world, as if they continually almost get worse, I think they'll continue to get more worse until we realize and we learned what we've needed to learn with this evolutionary development, and then the next one will come. I think there's parts of our brains that we do not use, and I think that's what's coming next for us. And that, I think, will bring awareness, that I think will bring us up into another dimension, so to speak, that will give us, so humans can see more of what goes on in the universe at a scientific level. You know, you don't take anything spiritual out of it. From a scientific level, we can't see, but we'll earn it. You know, but we'll earn it. And I think that's what we're doing now. I think we're learning that we're not gods. You know, I think we're learning that what we create has consequence. I think what we're learning is that if we just create for the sake of creating, that it ends bad. I think we're learning. I think that's what the point of all this is. Yeah. And the destruction is terrible. You know, lives have been lost. Our mistakes have had huge costs. But I think eventually humans will come together, and this shift that you're talking about, I think this shift is into us using more of our mind and to coming up more closer to what we were created from in the first place.
Yeah, connecting more with the human aspect, because what you said I think it was the interview that you did recently, you said people are made to be different. Mm-hmm. And I love that, because in you saying that, that's the key to collectively, because we have our own individual growth that we're working on, and then collectively we have our growth that we have to do. So people are made to be different. Like, most of the conflicts in our human experience come from the fact that we have not realized that we can't accept each other's differences. So in the fact that we are so unwilling to accept the differences that, you know, are not us, in an attempt to either mold them to fit our perfect view, to make us feel better about the world, you know, we either try to eliminate it, we try to make it wrong for it, which creates all this resistance and all this chaos in the world. But it's because of that. Some people, like you said, people are made to be different. And if we can learn to accept our differences and realize that that's the whole point of being human. We're not all the same, and it's not about being the same. It's about the fact that we all have this unique perspective and this unique way that we're here to share ourselves, and that in that, creating a space for the differences to exist kind of creates harmony. It takes away, because all the destruction and all the chaos really comes to the fact that we don't know how to be comfortable with the shit that makes us uncomfortable. So then we want to change it to make us feel good, but we're invading somebody else's little universe and we're saying, I want you to be what I want you to be to make me feel better.
We're just toppling on top of each other and creating this disorder and this unhappiness. I completely get what you're saying. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's great. I love that. It is, you know? It's a better world really does exist in here. Like, we just can take one person at a time. And just have them love themselves enough to love the world, then God, we would have a beautiful world.
Yeah. And that's part of what you're plugged into, and that's really what you're doing, you know. It's not just about collectively, because I know being a child and being empathetic, like an empath, and seeing the world differently, you want the world to change, and you want to see this beautiful, like how you know life to be. And then sometimes it can be very overwhelming when we're young because we feel like we have the world on our shoulders and like there's no way to change this world. And then you realize when you start changing yourself and you start finding that happiness, that peace that once wasn't there, that it really comes down to an individual level, which is what you're doing. You're going to change one person at a time, but it's a trickle effect. And you're kind of building your tribe. And there's no need to cater to everybody. There's no need to try to be everything to everyone. You're just you. And you have your own collective of people who are going to resonate with you. And you're going to be able to change that. And then they affect others. And it's really like a beautiful chain. We all have our purpose. So.
Yeah. Right. I'll affect someone else who can affect someone else who can affect someone else in ways that I couldn't affect the third person, you know? It's just a trail. Everyone is needed to change the world. It can't be done by one person, but one person can make enough of a difference to trickle out. Completely right.
That's what you're doing.
Amazing. Cool. Wow. I've been waiting for the days that people could say something like that to me. That's amazing.
So, SHI, thank you so much for joining me on a candid conversation. I know we were kind of all over the place, but this is what it was about, and I just really enjoyed connecting with you today.
Thank you so much. As I said in the beginning, like, it really was an honor to speak to you. You're a beautiful human being, and the way that you articulate your thoughts is beautiful, and you really do listen. You know, you listen and you build off of what other people are saying, and that's a gift. So thank you.
SHI, no, thank you. That's awesome.